and say the Ishtalshlos. Achilles Mizbeach has to do with Ishtalshlos, and we said that's the difference between the eating on Shabbos and the eating during the days of the week. And we also said that's also the difference between Beinanim and Tzadikim. And also Neshamis versus Malachim. Malachim can only take in according to Seder Ishtalshlos. They cannot handle something that's higher than them. And Neshamis, on the other hand, because even though it's a Nivra, but it's a Likus Nivra, it's godliness that became a Nivra. So therefore it could take in even a level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlos, similar to the idea of Achilas Adam versus Achilas Mizbeach. And finally, the final point that the Maimer is going to deal with and conclude with over here is that even though the Malachim on their own cannot take in a light that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlos, only Neshamas can do that, but the avoida of Neshamas of Tzadikim, that they do tap into a level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlos, they can also affect and draw down in Malachim the level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlos. Based on this, we will finally explain the beginning of the parasha that we spoke about, והוא עומד עליהם תחת העץ ויאכלו, that Avraham Avinu had to stand over them and then they ate. And we asked, what's the connection? Why did the Malachim's eating, or appearance to be eating, according to the two opinions, why was it a result of, why was it a dependent upon והוא עומד עליהם תחת העץ? So that's what we're going to talk about. Page 16, Chav, second paragraph, line 15. This is what it says in the pasuk. He was standing. Avraham Avinu was standing over them under the tree, and they ate. Through Avraham Avinu standing over the Malachim. Paul, he effected Adam, that the Malachim should attain not just the level that they have normally on their own, which is the level of Achilas Mizbeach, but rather that they should have the Achilas Adam, the Malachim, that on their own Madreges Oilmus are on the level of the worlds, and they cannot receive, and they cannot handle a light that's higher than the worlds. Through the avoid of Avraham Avinu, Paul Aleim Sheyeh Behem Achilas Adam. Avraham, the avoid of Tzaddik can, or the Neshamas Bechlal, can affect that the Malachim should have even the level of eating like a human being. That's what it means, that they ate like people. They sat over there under the tree and they ate like human beings eat, which means also spiritually they had the level of Achilas Adam. That now the Malachim were able to tap into that new light that's higher than the Seder Ishtalshlos. So this idea is encapsulated also in the Mamorim that the Rebbe referred to earlier. Here the Rebbe is going to add another nuance to this, another point to this, which seems to be the Rebbe's own chiddush. So he says in line 22, third paragraph on the page, we could possibly say, just like in the relationship between Neshamas and Malachim, as expressed by Avraham Avinu and the Malachim, though the Malachim on their own, it's not possible that they should have the level of the consumption of Adam, the level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlos. Mikol Makim, still in all, Aidei HaNeshamas, through Avraham Avinu, through the Neshamas, Nasabem Gamkein Achilas Adam, so they attain even the level of Achilas Adam, the level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlos. So too it's concerning the neshamas of human seed and animal seed, the tzaddikim versus the beinim and lower than the beinim. Though the avoid of the neshamas of the animal seed, that those are the neshamas of the beinim. He avoidas habirudim. This is the avoida of refining the sparks, which means lilchal imara, to battle the bad, and therefore needs to be invested and deal with the world. It's not above the world. It's not higher than Seder Ishtalshlus. It deals with Seder Ishtalshlus. This is only the neshamas of Zera Behema on their own are invested and dealing with the world and have to be mevarer dera and so on. Just like the malachim left to their own devices cannot attain this Or Chodosh, can only have to do with Seder Ishtalshlus. Avol idei avoid of tzaddikim. Through the avoid of tzaddikim, nasa gam benishmis habeinim ha'inyan dachilas adam. So then it happens and it occurs also in the neshamas of the beinim, the idea of human consumption. Hamshachas or chodesh alamayla meishtalshalos. That the tzaddikim affect the beinim and even lower than the beinim, that they should have a level that's beyond dealing with the birudim, dealing with the Seder Ishtalshlus, but beyond that. Like it says, top of the last page, ki sikna eved ivri. The Mamorim on Parts Mishpatim speak a lot about this, that it says, Eila Mishpatim asher tasim lefneim, and right away he starts off, ki sikna eved ivri. First you're talking about in plural, lefneim, and then it says in singular, that you will acquire an Eved Ivri. What's it referring to? The you will acquire in the singular. It should have said, Ki siknu Eved Ivri. Why does it say it in the singular? So the Chassidus explains, Ki sikne koy al Moshe Rabbeinu. The singular purchaser over here is not referring to Klal Yisrael in general, but it's referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. What's Moshe Rabbeinu doing, acquiring a Hebrew servant? So Chassidus explains that the Eved Ivri, that is a level of the neshamis similar to Zera Behema, person that's only serving Hashem because of his bittul, like an Eved, not like a Ben. A Ben is a neshama of tzaddikim. So he says, Shepal, that Moshe Rabbeinu affected and influenced. Gam ben neshamas shebechinas Eved Ivri. Also neshamas that are in a level of an Eved Ivri, someone that is serving Hashem in a way of Zera Behema, not Zera Adam. Like it says, that where do we see another pasuk that indicates that it is Moshe Rabbeinu influences and affects the neshamas of the Zera Behema, like it says in the second parsha of Krishma Chumash Dvarim, it says, "V'nosati eisa b'sad chalevem techa," that I will give and I will place grass in your field for your animal and for your animals. The issue over here is, why does it say I will place it in Chumash Dvarim? Moshe Rabbeinu is relating in what Hashem will do, will not do, and usually the term that's used is that Hashem will do this and Hashem will do that. Over here it doesn't say Hashem will give grass for in the field for your animal. It says v'nasati, the person speaking. This is the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu in Chumash Dvarim, not like the first four Chumashim that it's called Shlishi HaMedaber, whatever that means for now. So when it says Nasati Eisa B'Sadcha, that means that Moshe Rabbeinu says, I will give grass in the field for your animals. What is that talking about? We're talking here about the spiritual level of animals. The Gam b'neshamas, the Zera Behema, also in the neshamas of animal seed, that is the Behemtecha. Him shech bechinas esav chulu. Moshe Rabbeinu drew down the level of grass, which speaks about, means hamshachas, beyond what they have on their own. So we find this idea that the tzaddik, that Moshe Rabbeinu gives and brings more to the neshamas of the Zera Behema. The Rebbe still says it b'derech efshir, because it doesn't say explicitly that he brings a level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlus to a level of Seder Ishtalshlus, etc. But, we can rely on the Rebbe when he says it. But L'Poil, the Rebbe brings proofs from these other places as well. And the Rebbe says it also makes sense logically. If Malachim can be affected by tzaddikim, and Malachim are much lower than Neshamas, for sure Neshamas will be affected by tzaddikim. He says in line 5, Yuvan Zedman Kolshkin. This will be understood by way of a Kal V'chomer, Mizesh HaNeshamas Poel is Malachim Shiyah V'Machilos Adam, that if, from the fact that we see that Neshamas can affect Malachim, that they should have human consumption. If we're talking about Malachim, that they are created beings, they're not like Neshamas, Alakus Shanas Nivra, like we said yesterday, godliness that became a created being, but they are through and through created. Still in all, despite the fact of being totally limited, totally created, the Neshamas affect the Malachim, that they should be able to handle and should be able to be drawn down upon them. A new light, a light that's totally beyond, say the Rishtalshal is totally beyond them. Kol Shkim and Neshamas, how much more so can be affected by the tzaddikim on the Neshamas. The idea of a Neshama is godliness that became a created being. When we say that a neshama is godliness that was transformed into a creation, that applies to all neshamas. It doesn't just mean neshamas of Zera Adam, neshamas of tzaddikim, the level of Das Elyon. No, it's Gamba neshamas to Zera Behema. Every neshama, even neshamas of animal seed, also have this level of the Lakus Shanas Nivra. So if a malach that's only a nivra is able to receive the new light because of neshamas or because of neshamas of tzaddikim, so therefore, he says in line 12, so surely by a neshama that's a lakus shenas a nivra shaydei is kashrus on the neshamas of tzaddikim through the neshamas of the zera behem being bound up with the neshamas of tzaddikim, that they connect to tzaddikim, they follow tzaddikim. Nasa gamba hem ha'inyan da'achilas adam, also the neshamas of zera behema, they also attain the level of human consumption. V'hainu, this means she'af shemitzad atzmo avodasam hi avodas habrurim shaloichim emara, though the beinim and lower than the beinim on their own, not when they connect to the tzaddik. Their avodah is avodah of refining the sparks. Their avodah is battling and engaging with the bad and being involved with it. The though we know that in Beinim there are multiple levels. Tanya itself it really enumerates 3 different levels. There's a Beini that's a Bala Asik that engages with the world. There's a Beini that learns Torah all day. And then there's a Beini that's like on the level of davening all day. That was the level of a Beini that Rabbah thought he was at. And all these levels have many, many levels, like the Alter Rebbe says over there, like the Alter Rebbe indicates and hints at over there in Tanya. So, if so, maybe not every Beinani is dealing with the bad. So he says, no. The highest level of Beinani is still even in the highest level of Beinani, his avodah is an avodah of refining and dealing with the sparks. So, what's so terrible? So the Rebbe adds, there's a famous expression of Chazal, whoever wrestles with someone that's dirty and filthy becomes sullied as well, because of, even though he is defeating the bad, but he's engaging with the bad. That is one problem that the Beinani has, because he is battling with the bad, even the highest level of Beinani. In addition to that, there's another issue. Again, before the Beinani connects to the tzaddik, especially, there's even more so the engagement and the fact that the bad is affecting him is also according to what every person has. The way every person knows about his soul, according to his soul, according to where his soul is at. He calls out all these limitations and all this schmutz that he might have to deal with. That is all when the Beini is handling it on his own. But when the Beini connects himself to the neshama of the tzaddik, so also the Beini gets the consumption of a human being, drawing down a new light that's higher in the world, an unlimited light. And because he draws down from such a high place an unlimited light, he is able to forego, if you will, the dealing with all of these low things. He's able to transcend that and tap into levels much higher. והוא, עומד עליהם, last paragraph. That this is what it says in the pasuk, that he was standing over them under the tree, and they ate. Through the fact that he's standing over them, he's bound up with them. Literally, just like when the host is standing over the guest, he's like completely connected with him. Effects that they should have the level of human consumption. That he draws down the infinite light in all of those that are mekusher to him below. With this expression below, it sounds like the Rebbe is talking about the Frierdiker Rebbe that passed away. It's already in Olamus al Yonim, already in spiritual worlds, but he is still, like the Rebbe said in many sikhs in the early years. This was actually a mimer from Tafshin Yud Gimel, 1952. Like the Rebbe said in many sikhs in the early years, that the Lo Yaziv Tzoi Marisoi, that the faithful shepherd never leaves his flock. So the Frierdiker Rebbe is still bound up with those that are bound to him down below. And because he has that bond with them, so he draws down to them this infinite light. And what happens, the Rebbe says, in a practical sense, what does this do for me? What does this help me out? Through this, it causes that by the Yid now is an additional energy and vitality and fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs, which we know in general is the purpose of the hiskashrus to the tzaddik.